afternoon and welcome to the Lunchtime series, proudly powered by leadershipbydesign.co, where we aim to add value to people's lives. You can listen to the Lunchtime series live every Wednesday and Thursday on ebizradio.com, where we talk everything leadership, coaching, and marketing. And you can listen to the latest Lunchtime series on all your major podcast channels today. On today's coaching segment, we have a lifestyle mindset health coach chatting to us about fun, kindness, and being stress-free by having fun in the mornings. Please welcome Jenny Lee. Hey, Jenny Lee, how are you doing?
Hi, Kevin. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Thank you for being here. When we first had our conversation, I found it really peculiar, really, to kind of go, like, what is this fun, kindness, stress-free living that you help people with? But I mean, before we jump right into it, don't you want to give us just a bit of background? Like, who are you? How did you come about being a coach that works in this space? And because I think that, giving that context of how, like, you have firsthand experience of being in a corporate environment and how stressed out and stressful it can be, and sort of how you sort of arrived to this position.
At first, it was really what got me to a place of depletion and exhaustion was being a mother. Interestingly, there's this theory that 98% of mothers think that it's easier to go on with their jobs than be at home with their children. And I completely understand that. But if you want to make that connection with corporate, well, I'm actually a teacher. I've been teaching for about 21, 22 years at this point. And the last 5 years I've been teaching in public school in the US. And public school, inner city school, there are some, a lot of stress that comes with it. Like that's what I could say, because a lot of teachers are burned out and pretty much exhausted. And a lot of the people that I know who are working in corporate, that seems to be the demand, right? Like to be hustling and grinding and work the best that you can, which is good if the work is aligned with you. But I guess with my experience is that the pressure that we put on ourselves, the expectations that we take from other people, from the corporation and, colleagues, and the pressure that we put on ourselves, we are separating ourselves from from the truth of who we are. And that causes a lot of misalignment and self-separation. And that's what's causing a lot of stress, right? And that's why, that's where I was. And that was hurting my relationship with myself, which hurt my relationships with everybody else around me. With my friends, and I was not able to be an available mother for my son. And at some point, I got a divorce from my husband because, I was just like so separated from who I really was, from who I really am. And I got to this morning routine because at some point, I just realized that, wow, I could not live in this hamster wheel because it was, the monotony was killing me. And that was actually after I took a vacation in Hawaii. So I also grew up in Indonesia, and I went to Catholic schools there. And schools at least the schools that I went to, they were very punishing, Catholic schools, so I really hated waking up in the morning. I really did not like it with passion, hated with passion. But, and so that energy I carried through my adulthood. being a mother, and I always had this idea that mornings are stressful. And apparently 70% of Americans think that mornings are stressful. A lot of people think that way, and I can see why, because when you're waking up to a job that you don't like, to this monotony of life, of course, it's hard to wake up, right? And when I went to Hawaii for a vacation, there was one morning, it was very early, maybe like 5:45 or 5:50. I was staying at a hostel, and then somebody at the hostel was saying out loud, "Hey, there's a sunrise there. That's the sunrise. Everybody, like, come out." And so I thought, okay, this is just too early, but what's the big deal? And so I got up, and oh wow, it's beautiful. And then there were other people over there, and we got to talk, and I got to socialize a little bit. Then when it was all over, it was only maybe 6:05, 6:10. And I thought, oh, this is so early. But then that means I have maybe about 2 hours extra for the day, and I could maybe squeeze in some other activities in there. Then I came to this understanding that the earlier I wake up, the more fun things I could do. And so that was the mindset, and of course, the more fun people that I could hang out with. And then after the vacation was over, went back to real life in Connecticut and back to that monotony. And that's when I, after having been exposed to all the fun and the joy and waking up early, and I came to a point where I just couldn't do this kind of life. And so something that I could do at that point, because I didn't have that many choices, was to get out of the habit that I already had, that I was in, that I felt was monotonous, that I felt was constricting me. And I was imprisoned by this habit, right? So I did something really simple. Turned on the music.
To that point, I think to the point that you're making now, what stands out for me is, I think it's it's paying attention to what you can control, because like you said, you didn't have much choice, and you didn't have many choices on what you could control. So, focusing on, and I think, it's significant, and it seems that we say this to so many of our clients, essentially, keep focused on what you can control until you hear a life story like this, where you kind of go, well, what if there was no option and you had to choose? Like, you suddenly get to a point where you go, well, yeah, I can change how I do this morning routine. I can change me.
Yes.
That you have control over.
Yes, you definitely can. I think this is the point that I also want to emphasize, is that a lot of us feel like, because we're so set in our ways, sometimes we can't see any other ways. But you have to remind yourself, yes, you can. You can make that little tweak. You can step a little out of that comfort zone. And that's what you can control. Just this little thing that you could do, or maybe, take a different route to work, right? And for me, because mornings were so heavy and boring and depressing for me at that point, how did I control that? I played music. It was as simple as that. And that was what changed everything, really. Then I started dancing. I had so much fun. And after I did that often enough, I got this understanding. Oh, if I want to have fun and I want to create joy, I could easily just move my body and just be in the present moment, be in that music and the movement.
So, I mean, and that alludes to the next question, is how do you have fun in the mornings? Is it purely as easy and simple as putting on music?
Yeah, it is. It is. I guess that's for me, because I love moving. I love music. And after I went during the process, I feel exhilarated. In the process, I have fun. And because I've generated that energy of joy and happiness, my mood is uplifted, and I would go to work in a different mood. Before, it was more, oh, I'm just going to do my work, I'm going to take my paycheck and go home. Because I'm a teacher, that was really easy to do, right? Or I don't have any relationship with the students, or as a leader, you could just, okay, do your work because you're all cogs in the machine, right? Just like how I saw myself. But then because I was focusing on the joy and the fun, I got in touch with my authenticity. I got in touch with the truth of who I am, and we just, and everybody else, you know, we all just want to have fun. We all want to connect. And the highest connection, the best connection that you could have is really with yourself, because that habit of fun in the morning, that led to me, of course, adding more fun. And that actually healed my relationships with a lot of people. And before, when I was exhausted and depleted, a lot of the decisions that I made was based on fear, right? Based on what other people would think. And I was trapped in this people pleasing, and I was trapped in toxic culture that I created for myself. Yeah. But because I emotionally and I guess physically got so much more in touch with fun and joy and happiness and such healthy emotions. And that is the energy that I brought to where I'm working. And how I performed, I would actually ask myself, when I lesson plan, when I'm doing certain work, I would ask myself, how can I make this more fun? How can I actually be more present in this? And you know what? Because I'm teaching, and I ask myself, how can I make this fun during my lesson planning? The kids have fun. My students have fun.
So how does this morning routine reprogram the mind and body? Because I mean, I'm sure, you know, from a coaching perspective, I'm well aware of how, but for those people out there listening and who might not know, how does this reprogram the mind and body, and what are the benefits of that?
Okay. So I could start with what I was used to before I started this habit. I think, just like a lot of other people who are living in this world that demands us to keep go, and that causes us a lot of stress, and that is really harmful for the nervous system. And I think that's how I was operating, with this unregulated nervous system, and I was living in this trauma response, right? Because we're also used to this, the demand of working hard and deplete ourselves. And it's like, oh, the harder you work, the noble you are. And it's just very harmful. And so that was the mode that I was in. And when I started the fun and the joy and put those as my focus in the morning, because when you just wake up, your mind, your brainwave is between the delta wave, which is the deep sleep wave, and the theta wave. And that's when you just wake up and you're groggy, and scientists would call that the hypnotic state. And that is actually the time when your brain is the most malleable, when it's the most impressionable. And when you just wake up, and the first thing that you think about is either gratitude or there's something fun that you're going to do for yourself. And those are the seeds, that the positive seeds that are going to grow throughout the day. And when you do that consistently enough, you are reprogramming your body to wake up to fun, right? And you actually do it, you're enforcing it with your movement and your energy. And I meditate, I do breath work, Yeah, so now I have 2 hours of morning routine, and it's all just very fun and nourishing for me. And that's how that's why I'm just excited to wake up, right? And when you are reprogramming yourself this way, do this consistently again and again, one day becomes the days become weeks, and weeks become months, and you would find yourself your personality changes.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing that you think about in the morning, happy, fun things that you're going to do for yourself. And that makes you a happy and fun person. And that changes your relationship with yourself. That changes your expectations, right? And you are not as reactive to stressors, because stressors are everywhere, right? At work, when you wake up, there's the news and maybe some negative neighbors or anything. But when you already armor yourself with this positive emotion, positive energy, and your body and your emotion are so used to it, and that's what you expect, all these stressors don't really mean anything to you anymore. But then you can also compare it to when you're already depleted and exhausted, right? Hating the mornings, and then you wake up having to deal with all these stressors. That would be 2 different reactions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, how do you think this complements leadership with this method? Because, you know, a lot of the time the show goes out to people in a leadership position, but also business owners and entrepreneurs and you know, people who are really wanting to find answers on how to change their lives. But I mean, why? I mean, how does this complement leadership? And you know, how does it do that?
Well, because leaders are the ones who are creating work environments. I could give an example of a couple of work environments in the past that I had been in and are toxic. And I could see that the leaders are under a lot of stress, and they make their decisions based on fear and pressure. And that's just the wrong place to make your decisions from, right? Imagine if we have happier leaders in politics, in big corporations, when they actually take care of themselves first and prioritize their well-being, and they understand that joy and happiness and all these positive energies would be nourishing, because if it's nourishing enough for them, it would be enough for other people in the environment, if that makes sense. Because, yeah, what do you think?
But no, as you're speaking now, I'm kind of considering that perhaps having fun or creating fun or leading with fun could perhaps be a leadership skill that people need to actively start exercising, right? Because I think, as you say, there is so many components that your brain does. You know, we know that under a lot of stress, your brain's gonna, you know, you're gonna have a lot of cortisol in your body, and that's it's gonna, you know, your cortisol is gonna raise in your bloodstream, and that's your stress hormone. And when that's, you know, that's not a healthy hormone to live from. So, you know, when you attack the day in a very different way, and you kind of show up in a different intentional space, I think you definitely will be coming from a very different mind space when you are making decisions. And, you know, thinking about it, when I speak about leadership, it's not just for those business owners, but it's a personal skill as well for you. Is how do you lead your own life?
Exactly. And when, yeah, you need to lead yourself first, definitely. And when you know how to communicate with yourself, then you would know how to communicate with everybody else, right? Yeah. And you need to listen to your own needs first in order for you to be more sensitive to the needs of everybody else around you. And so that's it. And you tackled it so well when you're talking about the cortisol, and that's the kind of hormones that a lot of people, the bodies of a lot of people, and how they're so used to that. But then when you prioritize your well-being and have fun, prioritize having fun and the joy in creating a happy environment, then you are creating new chemicals, right? The dopamine, the endorphins, and
I also think that, if people don't necessarily change the programming of their day and how they do this with their minds and body, they also have a baseline of cortisol that their bodies then start becoming accustomed to. So,
yes.
So it raises that cortisol level, and that becomes your baseline for normality. Meanwhile, it's not the healthiest lifestyle. And, 6 months later, you're kind of going, I hate my job. I hate my life. I don't want to be here. I don't want to get out of bed. And you don't know why, right? Mm-hmm. Because you've changed the baseline of what your stress levels should be. And I think really intentionally getting connected to having fun in the morning. And I'm completely guilty. So, for me, I need to do this like slowly and wake up slowly in the morning. And I'm not a morning person, but I've never actually kind of contemplated of having fun in the morning. It's always my morning routine's very quiet and very like demure and kind of like just casual, and like I sort of have to get myself into the day. But I think, I'm going to try this for the next month and see if I can have more fun in my mornings.
Yeah, I could definitely give something practical for you to start with. Wake up 10 minutes early. Then if you don't like the mornings, what about trying 10 minutes earlier? Everybody has 10 minutes. And within those 10 minutes, choose something that you find the most fun for you to do, something that brings you some joy, something that brings you exhilaration, something that makes you come alive. Like, what would that be? For me, it is the dancing, it is the music. But for some people, it could be being outside, or, I don't know, play with something cardio. What would that be for you, Kevin?
Well, for me, it's being in the sunlight. So the moment the sun is up, I really love the like gazing into the sunlight and really feeling the sunlight on my face. And so to me, that's a very happy kind of feeling. The first thing in the morning when I have sunlight on my face. So I think that's something fun-ish that I could be doing. But I mean, I can incorporate that into music and just like waking up with, and maybe create a playlist the night before and kind of go, okay, cool. I want to see how this works tomorrow morning, and start the day on that playlist.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Exactly. That would be a great start. And another thing that I could also add, how I did it, was also adding, because I had so much fun, right, in those 10 minutes. And I felt, after 3 or 4 weeks, I think I'm going to add 5 more minutes. And so I added 5 more minutes, and I thought about another activity for me to do, which was maybe some challenges. It could be a challenging yoga pose, or a challenging dance steps, or a push-up. And because I didn't use, I was not able to do push-ups before I started this. And now, like I said earlier, now I have 2 hours that I added so many things to it, including juicing, and then the breath work and meditation. And they're all just fun and nourishing. And I, came out to the world this morning, with this awesome feeling that, yep, life is good, and that's the energy that I interact with people with. And when you want to connect this with leadership again, we want happy leaders. We want leaders that lead from the heart, right? Because they know what it's like to be happy, and they want their environment, like the people that they lead, to be as happy.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we had to sort of summarize today's conversation for me, like if I if I listen to it, I would really kind of go, I think, you know, we very often get so caught up in the hamster wheel, like you were saying. We get caught up in that thing when we don't even realize we're there. And while we're there, we create really bad habits, or just habits that we're used to. So we kind of think it's normal, and we don't actually kind of step out of that and kind of look into that picture and kind of go, well, how happy am I? And how much fun do you actually have? And I think, you know, taking away from this conversation, I'm definitely looking at, you know, exactly that, you know, like what is my happiness level measurement today? And kind of like, how can I amp that up a little bit? And how can I really get it to an 8 or a 9 out of 10 every morning? And I think, you know, it's so important, because we're always, you know, we're always leaving it to, you know, the other people to do it. We're always leaving it to, you know, as soon as my partner gets happy, I'm going to be happy. As soon as my kids are well behaved, I'm going to get happy. As soon as, you know, all these reasons, instead of just kind of going, no, well, why don't you just start at happiness? Start there. Start with happiness for self, like your own happiness.
Exactly. Then now we're at this understanding, right, that we are the ones who are responsible for generating that happiness. And whether or not our environment, our outside environment is happy, depends on how much happy we feel first within. And the outside is all depending on what you feel inside. It's that simple.
and I think that's the thing, you know, people won't see it until they see it and they experience it. So I think it's a case of going, why don't you just try? Why don't you just do it for the next 30 days and then see how, you know, you can reflect back and kind of go, okay, this worked, or this was just crazy. But essentially, we know, you know, from reprogramming the brain and you know, how the body responds to good stimuli, you know, when it's there and it's happening and it's consistent, our brains want more of it, because it's like, yeah, I like this. This feels good. I like feeling good.
Yes.
Right? So it becomes a whole different sort of process that you're putting yourself through.
Yeah,
so
exactly. I'll actually add to that, Kevin. You're talking about the mind liking it. Now, that's the thing too. We're talking about starting a habit. When you want to start a habit, you need to make that you need to make the process easy and fun and simple. And then you're making this positive association for your mind and your body. It's like, oh, this is easy. I can do that again, right? 10 minutes, that's easy. And it's fun. Oh, of course I want to do fun. And you do that every time to program your body that the morning, starting a morning habit is really easy. And there you go. And you just like starting this new hamster wheel, maybe, but a more pleasant one, right? Because we're all creatures of habits.
Yeah. So, Jenny, if you could leave us with sort of the summary of today's conversation, what is the message out there for the masses listening, and what do you want to leave with people?
We did mention kindness earlier. Something that that is the byproduct of, it's not just byproduct, but probably the purpose of us doing this, right? The fun morning habits, the joy that we give to ourselves, that is an act of kindness to yourself. And you would know how to be kind to yourself. You know how to be happy. You know what actions to take in order for something to be fun and joyful. And this then will translate, right, to kindness to your surroundings, to other people, to where you're working. And so I think that would be the message. Having fun is really being kind to yourself. So ask yourself, how can I have fun right now for everything, even when you're doing taxes? Or how can you make it easier? Maybe.
And I think I'm so glad that that's the message, because I don't think people put that into context, right? You know, having fun is being kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an act of kindness. It's an act of love. It's an act of appreciation. And the more intentional I can be about myself being happy and kind, the more, you know, I'm putting that out into every moment, every other moment in my world and my life. So it's inevitable that kindness comes back.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful, Kevin. I love it.
I love it, Jenny. So I mean, like, thank you for joining us on the. I mean, we're already over the time, but I mean, if we can get hold of you, where do we go to, like, click on say, and we want to chat or work with you, or where do we go?
Absolutely. I am active on Instagram, so you can find me at Sunny Jenny Lee, and I will also give you my Facebook page. And well, recently I just got back to being active on LinkedIn, so you could definitely find me there. So yeah, hit me up and I'll be happy to hear from you.
Fantastic, guys. And yes, we will put all the links in the Dropbox in the description box below. So go and check it out, go click it on, and it's go and check out what Jenny Lee does, because she's going to help you find happy. Happy, fun, and kindness. I think that's the summary of it. Jenny,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. So exciting.
Cheers for now.